Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Dia Dynasty. I am one half of La Maison de Rouge. And my other half, Lucy Sweetkills, taking a break tonight, taking it easy, having a sweltering evening, lounging around. And I'm coming to you where we are based. And tonight on our live broadcast, we have Mistress DiamondBlu. Mistress DiamondBlu is a Jacqueline of all trades. She's a classically trained actor, improviser, stand-up comedian, professional photographer, and cinematographer whose works have been shown internationally. She's also a published writer and a director of both film and stage. Having been in the lifestyle for more than a decade, she made her decision to become a pro-domme after her last chemotherapy treatment, which also coincided with her 50th birthday. In her BDSM practice, she employs her teachings as a Reiki master and Shamanic practitioner, offering a deeply spiritual element to her sessions. She resides in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And here is Mistress DiamondBlu. Hello, Mistress DiamondBlu.
Hi, Dia. Thank you so much for having me.
So good to have you. We've got a couple of people joining us, and we're going to have more probably later. And it's so great to have a conversation with you because I enjoyed the conversation that we had earlier a couple weeks ago. And I know that you're a very interesting person, and I just love the multifaceted diversity of pro-doms. So here we are. How are you this evening?
I'm great. It's sweltering hot here in Montreal, and I'm so happy to be bald.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. It's just like literally wash and wear, and I don't have to worry about like overheating. It's fabulous. I just absolutely love it. How are you?
I'm great. I'm actually chilling. Trying to chill at home after coming back from the farm and not really ready to, reintegrate into city life. So it's really nice to have some interactions that don't, require too much of me, like this one. That can energize me and make me feel good about people again.
For sure.
So I'd like to start off the interview just kind of by asking about your origins and how you maybe first discovered that you were a kinky human.
Well, my first foray into kink was being a little brat and nosing around my parents' bedroom. And I just felt that intuitively that was something under that mattress. Because everybody hides things other than the mattress, right?
Yeah.
I hid my diary under there. So I snuck in and I pulled out this like high gloss German porno mag. And it was crazy because I had seen, Playboy magazines and the stands and stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, naked ladies. But when I pulled this out, the first few pages were women wearing latex and stepping on men and pulling a dog leash and women in just like crazy 70s heels. And it just blew my mind that not only was erotica and porn at the time just boobs and bushes, but it was something very stylistic and something highly visual and very, very enticing to look at. So I left that there, but I went back and peeked several times. and then, pardon me?
Oh yeah, you have to put it back.
In the same place, right?
Yeah.
You can't miss an inch. And then some of the French television stations would run what was called Bleu Nuit, which is Blue Night, and they would have softcore and erotic porn on, and I just really enjoyed the whole idea of the sensuality aspect of it, because they weren't showing hard porn at that time.
Of course.
And it just something that was really intrigued me, and then I started reading from friends of mine who were older, of course, and started to explore that, and explore themes of domination and submission, which I didn't have a partner yet who was into that. So I was about 17, 18, and I started to get into the very popular club scene here in the city. And Montreal was just booming in the 80s for like the gay clubs that they had here. They were just fabulous and over the top. And I befriended a lot of my gay male friends, and because I was kind of androgynous looking, they'd take me in, sneak me in with them, and I would see just this amazing celebration of sexuality right in front of me. And, you know, guys doing it on stage, doing it in the bathroom, doing it on a bar table. And at that time, there was, you know, a strong leather presence. And I got to learn a lot about BDSM and, you know, master and servant and the whole protocol behind that. And I was really intrigued. And as, you know, time went on, I found a few play partners who were curious about, you know, power exchange relationships. And, you know, picked up a few toys at the sex shop, and I just sort of stumbled my way through. And yeah, it just kind of grew from there. I started reading more erotica. I started seeking out specific, more fetish style of videos. Like I was a real fan of latex and leather and bondage. And that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. I wonder if the magazine that you found under your parents' mattress, if it gave you kind of like the exposure and the permission to keep like trying new things. Like, was there any conversation about sex or sexuality with your parents?
With my parents, no.
Okay.
It was very kind of cut and dry. I grew up in a Catholic household, so it was, you know, the kind of, well, a woman has a uterus and she has ovaries and blah blah blah, and then the man inserts his penis, and it was more of along the lines of like, yes, this is the kind of stuff you do when you're in love. So there was no aspect of the kinky involved at all.
Yeah.
And when I kind of asked, my parents just sort of shut down and just said, well, you know, if you love somebody and, you know, you do things with them and it's safe environment. So in the meantime, I was watching all these other films on TV and saying, this is a little bit of a disconnect. What they're not telling me something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when, like I said, you know, I started on my own and snuck into sex shops, which were only 18 at the time, but I didn't care. I snuck in anyway, and I would ask questions, you know, what is this strange thing that vibrates that looks like a banana? And
wow.
And I really allowed myself to just explore at my own pace. And like I said, because I was, you know, in the new wave punk leather scene at the time, I really had easy access to welcome that kind of experience and that information. But I always knew that there was something more than just missionary position. I mean, even my fantasies were elaborate as a young woman.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that comes with being just innately creative.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. I think that, you know, maybe there's even times when people are like repress their creative, you know, energy, because I think there is kind of like sexuality and creative energy too.
Absolutely.
And so I don't relate to, you know, being young and you know, exploratory in that specific way, but also because I lived in like, in the Bible Belt, and that stuff wasn't very, available, and I also wasn't exposed to it like through my parents. Through my parents' stash. So yeah, that's really great that you kind of had the environmental support too, like your gay friends and the clubs and stuff like that when you were so young. So when you, okay, so there's a part in your bio that talks about kind of the timing of things. And so it wasn't until your 50th birthday that you actually became a pro-domme. So what were you doing up until then that was maybe like kink or fetish related?
Well, I had always been wanting to explore different aspects of sexuality. I had been dating a man for about 3 years, and his parents were swingers in the 70s, and they had swapped, and we had discussed that, where previously I never thought about sharing my partner, but the idea really, really intrigued me, and we did, and it was amazing. And I just said, this is a fun way to live. This is a fun way to be. And that just like really open up the floodgates of me wanting to explore my sexuality and being very honest and true with my friends about wanting to explore these different kind of lifestyles. And I had always been, I was, studying photography for the longest time. And I had been taking my own erotic photos, erotic self-portraits. And it was luxury for me because I was able to develop all of my film through my school and print on my pictures. So I didn't have to worry about bringing my stuff to a film lab and having somebody jerk off while they're looking at my pictures. So I wanted to move to color because black and white was very nice, but I think in Technicolor and surround sound. So I wanted to take it to the next level by using, props and saturation of color just to boost up the atmosphere and the flavor of the pictures I was taking. And that was about 2003. And a friend of mine had a digital camera. And she says, this is really amazing because my boyfriend and I take pictures of each other all the time. And I take these erotic selfies and I don't have to bring a roll to the lab. I just download it to my computer. So we shared a bunch of pictures together and I was blown away. And that started my foray into erotic self-portraiture. And there was a site that was around back then. It was called Flickr.
Oh, yeah, I remember the Flickr.
Yeah, way back. And when it started, there was a lot of people who just really appreciated photography, and a lot of pros and semi-pros, amateurs. And I started up a group of just, exploration into erotic self-portraits. And I posted my stuff on there, which was actually quite provocative, but very artistic. And so many people were just posting and sharing and saying thank you, because there's no place that we can actually share ideas or share our pictures for fear of being judged or outed or exposed and whatnot. So that for me was a big step. And I did that for many years. And I went to a lot of erotic arts festivals. There was one in Detroit I went to, one in Seattle. And then I ended up in New York City, and I got gallery representation there. And I showed my erotic self-portraits. And I said, yeah, these are mine. You're going to like them. They're sexy. and that was pretty much where I wanted to go for a while. And I wanted to be an erotic art photographer, and I wanted to branch out into, doing larger installations or having more people. And then unfortunately, my mom had cancer. They found it at a stage 4. And that was a good 6 years that I had to put my life on hold. So that kind of took a back seat. The whole kinky relationship type of thing kind of took a back seat, but it was always there in my mind. And I am more of a dominant than a submissive, although at one point I was a switch. Just for me, stepping into being a woman with power was something new to me, because I was an only child. I lived with my mom, and we were kind of just the two of us against the elements of the patriarchal world. And it was a struggle for me to find my identity and to be heard. And I had, with my partner at the time, explored the DS dynamics, and I enjoyed, doing the pegging and doing the tying up and stuff like that. And I said to myself, I think I can do this for a living, but is that really feasible? And I'd sort of been tossing it around in my head for about a good 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a long time. And I just said to myself, I don't know if I can, and it's a lot of work, and I still love to do photography, and my acting career and my comedy career were really taking off at that time. And I just said, I'll stick with something I know, and that'll be fine for now. And I felt comfortable, I felt happy. And then I had cancer. And that's the last thing, that's a phone call you never expect to hear. And it comes out of nowhere and it hits you like a ton of bricks. And for me, it paralyzed me momentarily, because I was forced at that moment to become completely real with myself and look into the future and say, well, I might not have much of a future if this cancer has progressed. So let's say best case scenario, I do have an extra amount of time or extra few amounts of months or years. What do you really want to do? What really speaks to you? What moves your soul deeply? And something that you don't want to regret when you're on your deathbed. And it was a really hard conversation I had with myself. And it took me about a week really sitting down, writing the pros and cons. And then at one point, just looking at the cons and say, I'll just toss that out the window. There's no time to think about what ifs and, what if I get, found out, or what if somebody outs me, or what if I don't make money, or all of these things were just, constructs and blockages in my brain, because I am a perfectionist. So I was just running this racket in my mind, constantly trying to find reasons to not move forward. And I just said, you know what, the doctor seems really, upset about this, and he thinks it's a very aggressive form of cancer. And if I do get a second chance, I don't want to mess it up. I really just want to put pedal to the metal and do all the things that I wanted to do. Yeah. And after that, that's, when I decided that I was going to become a Reiki master and I was going to become a pro-domme. So I had been sort of doing the research in the background while I was having my chemo about reaching out to other doms in the city, what kind of styles there are, just really, getting as much information as I could to make an informed decision about where I wanted to go. And when I finished my last chemo, which was a few days before my birthday, my 50th birthday, I just said, you know what, it's now or never. I've been waiting all my life to take big leaps, and I had taken big leaps, but very incremental steps. And I said, I've come out of the chemo, I'm chemo free. The doctors are happy with my progress. The chemo was hell. And if I can go through chemo, I can do anything.
Yeah, you can face all the cons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I just said, you know what, let's really dive into this without hesitation, head first, let's just go. And I did. And it's been one of the most rewarding things that I've done in my life so far.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I think that this story comes with many lessons that can help inspire other people too, which is, one of which is like, follow your heart, like your strongest desire. What is the thing that you have been wanting to do or have wanted to do for decades, like the thing that you always think about that you haven't done? What is it?
Exactly.
That's such an important calling to follow, is what your heart tells you to do, instead of what your mind says is logical and rational
and safe.
And safe. Yes. Yes. I was just about to say that. But also, there's really no time like the present, and there's no like timeline that people need to follow, and there's nothing that gets in your way other than yourself. And so, like, anytime you want to start is a great time to start. It doesn't have to be like when you were in your 20s, It's just anytime you want to start, like, it's a great time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that kept me hesitant was the fact that at the time that I was 49, and even though I'm still hanging on to those two numbers, 4 and 9, it's like, okay, I'm still in my 40s.
Yeah.
It's not the big 50 stigmatization.
Yeah.
And I just kept on saying, I'm going to be up against younger women, and is there going to be a market for a woman who's older, and all these self-defeating thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still every once in a while, when I'm having a really crappy day, it'll pop up for a second.
Yep.
And then I just say to myself, I've always felt young at heart, and I've always experienced life as young at heart. And if, the cancer told me anything, was that I was able to survive something so grueling with almost like the eyes of a child. And I knew that age is really just a number.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone into this feeling like I'm 20 years old and the world is my oyster, and I'm just super excited. And yeah, I think that, age really is just a number. And it's sad because I've seen tweets of other people bashing women who are, 30. And or like I saw a mistress who was like turning 35, and she says, I'm so terrified because I feel so old. And people were saying, yeah, you're an old hag, you should be doing this in your 20s. And of course it was awful. It was awful. So of course I had to chime in with one of my most sexiest photos. I'm like, listen, buddy, this is what 50 looks like. So
yeah. Yes, thank you. Well, I think it's really important to have that kind of representation too, because maybe these people who are age shaming this woman, they haven't been exposed to like lively, vibrant, sexy 50-year-old women, or anybody in that age bracket. And so I really agree with you about age. And I think, of course, like, you got to take care of yourself. You can't like just keep living as if you were 18 years old and expect nothing to fail. But but it's a really great balance of like physical maintenance and mental and emotional maintenance too, because these things are factors in what keeps you young.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also, like, youth isn't even, you're right, like, it's overrated in my opinion, because everybody gets something of a youth, but not everybody makes it past a certain age. And so like when you get to be a certain age, you qualify for like elder status.
Discounts at the pharmacy.
discounts at the cafeteria, like all kinds of discounts off of your your income tax or your property tax or your everything basically. For having lived that long. Which is great. All the things against you that are meant to tear you down didn't work. And also just like wearing our age like a proud badge of honor, and exposing people to that kind of narrow-minded mentality, exposing people who have that kind of narrow-minded mentality to something that they haven't ever seen before.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it takes people being brave to do it.
For me, that was kind of a motivating factor, because I know that there are other women out there who are my age, and the stigma of getting older and having stuff go south and menopause, all these things are so saturated with a moroseness and a heaviness and almost like an unfemininity. And I really wanted to allow other women to see that, yeah, age is just a number. And with age comes wisdom and maturity in your sexuality. That I never dreamed of. And I joke around with people and I say, a lot of this exploration happened when I was in my dirty 30s.
Yes.
Because that was when everything just exploded. I reached a level of self-confidence that came with the knowledge I had of my body, the knowledge that I had of myself as a lover, and the knowledge I had about myself as where I belonged in the world. And it just grew. And like I said, I've had younger women come to me and reach out to me, through FetLife and through Twitter and say, what is it like? I mean, here I am and I'm 25 and I'm wondering what I'm going to look like when I'm 50. I said, don't think about that. Just live in the now. And, you will be even more beautiful when you age, because there's something that cannot be taught when you're young about stepping into the power of your sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love sharing that and exploring that and showing that.
Mm-hmm.
And just over the weekend, I shot a film about how it's like to reclaim my power. That's why I shaved my head. But and then I came home in the evening and I had, my latex gloves on and I was peeling off the latex. And then I got down to, nothing. And I said, it's been a long time since I've done some really wild erotic self-portraits. And I set up my ring light and I set up my camera and I just took crazy, erotic, provocative selfies until 5 a.m. And I said, yes, it's coming back. I really feel like I have nothing to lose at this point. And I really don't. I've lived a full life of many different things that I've enjoyed. And this is kind of, for me, the final frontier.
Yeah. It's so liberating to hear and to be, that in that stage of like nobody can fuck with me because I own everything that, that I do.
Yes.
And so people can't shame me or try to embarrass me or out me or whatever, you know? And that wasn't that something that you were concerned about before you started working as a pro-domme?
Absolutely. Most of my life was lived very, very regimented in a little box. You were identified as XYZ. You couldn't veer in any direction out of the norm. And if you did, you were considered weird, just within my close circle of friends and family. And the more that I tried to conform, the more I became miserable and stifled. And I just said, this has got to stop. I don't want to work in an office job the rest of my life because my brain is too busy bouncing out of my ears and my eyes with creative ideas. And to honor that took a lot of bravery and took a lot of balls. And like I said, when I delved into exploring my sexuality publicly, I knew that there were going to be people that were going to be haters, and I knew that people were going to be there and judging me. And it just came to a point that, like I said, when I, had the cancer, it's like, I don't care. The first big step was having the hair, fall off, because before I had the chemo, I had beautiful, lovely red curly hair, and that was my trademark. And then when I came to the point of losing it, I said, who am I without my hair?
Yeah.
Like, where do I fit? Kind of this, I'm literally like I lost all my hair. So I was literally like a newborn, like down to the eyelashes. And I'm like, well, I'm starting from scratch and I'm reinventing myself.
Yes. That's so positive and inspiring to hear, like, your approach to all of this, because it can be really devastating, to like go through chemo and feel like crap all the time and have cancer and also know that your mom had cancer and that it's almost like you were fated for it. But you really turned it around and transformed yourself and reinvented yourself. And I think that it sounds like your embracing of your sexuality and really, like your power through that was what kept you going the whole time.
Absolutely. My mother was such a trooper. The cancer came back 6 times and she had 5 major surgeries, 2 different kinds of chemo. And every time she just said, I want to die, I'm not going to die. This is not going to take me. And when I had the cancer, of course, I called her first. And she just said, you know what? I got it when I was 65. 10 years later, I'm still here. We're going to do this together. And having done my Reiki practice, I became a Reiki master right after I had finished my chemo. The Reiki practice that I learned was all about tuning into the self and connecting with my spirit and whatever blockages I might have had, and to really look within and find the strength to heal. And that's what I did. As soon as I heard that I had the cancer, I went into my body every day and I did a check-in. It's like, where is the cancer now? Okay, so let's find it. Let's remove it. And I just sort of imagined the cancer being these little pellets in my body. And I just went in, and everyone I took out, I said, thank you for coming into my life. You've given me a lesson. And I appreciate that. And I don't need you anymore. And I would put it into this like super dynamic garbage can that went to the core of the earth.
Yes.
And I kept on doing it. Every day I would check in. And then when I had the chemo, people were telling me, chemo's going to kill you and it's going to make you sick and it's going to be horrible. And I said to myself, I have like two perspectives that I could look at here. It could either be horrible or it could either be meh. So I prefer to choose the meh side of it and live with the side effects, but not over exaggerate, because everybody is different when it comes to their chemo treatment, and everybody reacts a different way. So I did. And I envisioned, whenever I had my infusions, it was once every 21 days, and it would last anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, which was crazy.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it really was. But I mean, that was my time to zone out. Like, I'd be on this nice comfy chair and I have my headphones. I'm like, okay, so let's do some work. And I envisioned the chemotherapy going in as like these white jaws, like white sharks,
little Pac-Mans or piranhas,
and eating up all the cancer. And this was for the 7 months that I was doing this.
Wow.
And both my doctor and my surgeon said, we're really, really happy with your progress. And that from that moment on, I realized the power of the mind and the power of being able to be your own boss on a level that was so powerful and yielded the kind of results that I wanted to see. So that really was a life and game changer for me.
Yeah. Did you learn to do that visualization through something or somebody?
There was a book that I read, and it was called Getting Well or Getting Better. It's one of the best sellers if you type in like cancer creative visualization.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it was fabulous. It was fabulous. And just, simple things, just taking the monster facade out of what is threatening you and making it small, because the brain will react in the fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
And if you look at something and it's overwhelming, then your body and your mind are going to follow.
Yeah.
So once you minimalize it and say, okay, well, this is something I could tackle, the body starts to relax and say, okay, so yeah, let's deal with this type of thing. So
I wasn't able to find exactly what you were talking about, but there's is it a book?
Yeah, it's Feeling Good. I think that's the name of it.
Feeling Good. Feeling Good. Is it the new mood therapy?
Yes, that's it.
Ah, okay. So I just want to put this into the little chat box. So if anybody wants to pick it up or whatever, they'll be able to figure it out a lot easier and have, there we go. And that can just go here. All right. Everybody has been super supportive and polite and encouraging so far, but I just wanted to remind all of our wonderful viewers that we will have a Q&A, so just please hold your questions until we get to that part. So so now you're now that you've been doing some pro-dom work, are you still learning about yourself, and expanding in your sexuality, or have you kind of honed in on certain things through your practice?
I'm still learning. I mean, I think that keeping yourself on the path of opening up to knowledge is a wonderful thing. I don't think we can ever stop learning.
Mhm.
I am kind of honing in on certain things that excite me. I really enjoy feminization.
Mm.
That's my big thrill at the moment. And I find that when you find something you really love to do, the passion and enthusiasm really shows, and
Mhm.
it's almost contagious. So I had my one sub that I took to have his first pedicure, and
Oh.
and he loved it, and then the esthetician was so happy. And then I took him shoe shopping, and then for some sexy clothes, and
Oh.
he was happy because it was a safe place, and he knew that he was safe with me.
Mhm.
But I afforded him this space and time, which he was really grateful for. And it was so exciting for me to see a man put on a pair of high heels and really have like such a change of energy, and the look in his face, and the feeling of stepping into what it's like to really be sensual and sexy from this
Oh.
regular alpha male. And I said, oh, I love this. This just really thrills me.
Yeah.
And I still enjoy sensory deprivation. That's one of my big go-tos.
Mhm.
Also, setting a scene and being the director of this erotic play.
Yes.
That for me, that's the biggest thrill, because I am a trained actor. So when I was, getting to learn about, being a dom and setting the scene, I was thrilled. I said, this is something that I've done for years. And of course I've done improv for years as well. So that really helps to, just stay on the ball and keep things rolling and exciting and imaginative. And yeah, I've been taking a lot of classes. It's been great because through the pandemic, the only way to connect with other DOMs was through Zoom and through Twitter. And I've taken classes with Simone Justice. I've taken several of the 7 days of domination. And it's just been really, really wonderful. And also, building of the sisterhood by connecting with all these amazing women out there, and having this support and exchange of knowledge has taken my doming to a whole other level that I think would have taken years on, in terms of like having to do this in person and going to see X person over there for that course and that person over there for this course.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I'm constantly evolving and constantly learning. And now what I'm employing more is my teachings as a Reiki master and
Mhm.
my energy work. And I've always done that with past lovers that I've had when we're having, intimate moments together. I check in with them and I explain that I'm going to do some energy work, and it's very loving and it's very compassionate and warm and erotic. And I had a client who I decided to ask if it was okay if I could do some energy work on them. And it was during a flogging scene. And I just passed my hand over their body and I felt different, energy knots. And I just said, I'm going to work on this one in your back, and tell me what comes out of it every time I hit you. Breathe into that space in your chest,
Mm.
and see what comes up. And he was on another level. He was just experiencing things like everything from grief to excitement to fear and rage. All of these things were just coming out, and
Wow.
he didn't know how to deal with them. But I just said, it's like we're lancing a boil.
Yes.
We're squeezing this stuff out of here, and
Yeah.
once it's gone, it'll be okay. But the most important thing is that you stay mindful of all of these experiences. Don't get hooked onto like, oh, why am I feeling angry? Why am I feeling scared?
Right.
Just step into the the tingling of your skin as the flogger hits your skin, and make that the focus and stay with the pain and let everything else just melt away. And it was great because after we did that, I sort of did a reconnection with him to me, and him to himself and his body, get him back into the physical realm. And we did a check-in, and he sat down at my feet, and I looked at him. I said, "You just look like you took a vacation to 2 weeks to like Tahiti." And he says, "Mistress, it was crazy. I just had all of these blockages I felt in my body, and this anxiety and tension, and everything just seemed to just like fall away in chips and little fragments. And I didn't know what was happening." I said, "Well, that's it's the power of the energy work. It's really next level." So I'm employing that more, and I'm going deeper with it, because it used to be something that I would do at the end of a session to ground my clients. And now I realize that I can really allow my subjects access to almost another realm of consciousness.
Yes.
And I feel that the way I've sort of phrased it in my marketing materials, I'm a sexual shaman who takes, the person into the jungle of their sexual desires, and I give them the powerful, sexual ayahuasca, and I guide them through the jungle, and then we come back again, and we talk about that. So I am, the spiritual sexual guide, and
you're
I like
a Shamanetrix.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess you could call it that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've used that term or label or whatever quite a bit, and I think that there is absolutely an altered state that is kind of like the jewel of BDSM sometimes. Yes. And it doesn't have to be, like that. It doesn't have to be this like trance-like experience, but it can be.
Yes.
And that's that's the space of transformation and of healing. Yes. And it, like, I love the visual of lancing the boil, that's one of my favorite things, is like pimple popping and lancing boils.
Stay here.
But you were combining energy work with physical impact play, and those work really well together, because there's the acknowledgement of like an area where there's blockage, and then there's the physical like beating or chipping or shedding or thrashing of that energy. And so and I think it's really important to acknowledge that all exchanges, like even just when you talk to somebody on the street, is an energetic exchange, and everybody has energy within them that is unique to their own like a thumbprint,
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And things get stuck, and it's like a body, but it's a non-body.
Exactly. It's like a protective embryo that we have.
Yeah. And that addressing that as a part of the play and a part of the experience and a part of the human is just as important as, just kind of being like, oh, do you have any injuries, or
yes.
Stuff like that. So I love that kind of stuff. I'm a big, nerd about it. Like, awesome. Like I think that that shamanism and Reiki and like magic and tantra and all these more like energetic ways of working are super compatible with BDSM.
Absolutely, because for me, BDSM is all about connection to the body, and not only connection to the mind, but when you're in an actual scene and you're doing impact play, and the person that is getting impacted, we live in our heads so much that it's so rare that we take time to connect with our flesh and connect with our beings and our energy and our soul. And I feel that it's a necessary evolution that we are starting to explore. And there is only so much that you could do like in talk therapy.
Yeah.
But I think that bringing the spiritual and the physical together really allows for a greater understanding for just self-exploration and stripping yourself away of your ego. And I know like meditation is one way to go through that. I've tried, but I have a crazy monkey mind, so I find the only way for me to really be able to get into that meditative Zen state where it's just me and my implement and my submissive and what they're feeling, and just have this back and forth of the exchange of like hearing them, groan or moan, and express pleasure or discomfort, and the sound that the whip makes against the skin and the snap. It's just, for me, it's something so delicious and rich to dive into that it really takes you out of your head. And after this pandemic, everybody spent like a year in here and in their house. So it's just nice to be able to now breathe again and breathe into that experience. And for me, when I saw 50 Shades of Grey, I actually read the book first, and because I'm a writer, and I think I got through the first chapter, and then I just kept on ripping at the pages and swearing. I'm like, she doesn't even know how to write. God damn it, this is awful.
Yeah, like how many times are they gonna murmur to each other? Did you catch that?
It's so pedantic. It's mommy porn, but that's a whole other tangent. So for me, when I decided that I was going to go into being a pro-domme, I wanted to have my own style, and I wanted to be able to have this new agey element, as some people have called it, but just like a very esoteric element, because it's not just going about the motions. It's about the deep introspection and the connection and the meshing and the opening your eyes to a different realm of where this can take you. And I mean, granted, there are some submissives who just, want to come in and have a good spanking, or just want to have a good humiliation session. And, by all means, if that works for you, I am totally happy, and that's great. But I do offer the opportunity to like, well, if you really want to just explore this from a different perspective, we could try it this way. And the ones that I've suggested it to really love it, because it's not something that everybody is comfortable doing. I think a lot of people are afraid to look at their spiritual closets and sift through, see what works, and sift through what makes them afraid or fearful, and where they can actually develop into. And that's fine. Everybody evolves at their own pace and at their own time. But because I feel like I've come to this point in my life that I can offer this kind of guidance or difference of opinion, that I want to share that with people. And if they're ready to do that, well, by all means, let's check it out. Let's have a great time.
Yeah. I think that having, I guess, a lot of experiences on your own in these ways also allows you to help other people, to help guide other people through it, because you yourself have maybe felt them too. And it's it's not the whole like, well, if you're a better bottom, then you could be a better top thing. It's more just like kind of a sharing of like the value and the love.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love that, that this is where you have taken your practice, and you're not like, it doesn't seem like you're the least bit like tired of kink, maybe because you've done it in different capacities, like throughout your life. I feel like, there's definitely a burnout when it comes to being pro for a very long time. So how do you avoid that?
For me, what I see as being a burnout is just the business side of things. for me, it's just like, okay, you gotta tweet, and then you gotta post content, and then you gotta do this and gotta do that. For me, when I go into a session, it's really play for me.
Yeah.
I can see myself doing this for way into my 70s. It'll
Yeah.
be great. But yeah, I mean, it is a lot about being on, and it's a lot about presenting yourself as a certain type of dominant,
Hmm.
with the looks and the makeups and the clothes and all that kind of stuff. I think just like keeping it fresh and trying different things
Mm.
is the key. And like I said, for me, you know, diving into this spiritual element really does give it a new twist on things.
Hmm.
And what I'm doing now is I actually made myself a medicine drum, and I have to show it to you because it's just so
Oh, whoa. Is that like tie-dye?
it's kind of a tie-dye thing. Yeah, like
Okay.
I had the skin, and then we mushed it up, and I threw a bunch of marbles and tied it up, and then it came out to this.
Amazing. It
So
is so beautiful.
and I did the whole thing. I tied everything together in the back, as you could see,
Wow.
and then I made my own little mallet of like
Oh, I
with.
love that. It looks like a pleasurable tool.
I haven't tried that yet, but I'm sure it can be.
Oh yeah.
And so there is such a thing as sound therapy.
Yeah.
And so what I've been doing is that when I had my first sub over a few weeks ago, I had him lie on like my massage table, and I blindfolded him, and I, cuffed him, and I just said, I'm going to do a little bit of teasing, and then I'm just going to randomly go over your body with the drum. And because it sounds so deep, and the resonance is so bassy,
Mhm.
for me, it resonates right deep into my root chakra.
Mhm.
And I was doing that, and I was telling him to breathe into that certain spot every time I was doing the drum. And the drum actually mimics a heartbeat. And
Yes.
then when that happens, the brain automatically switches brain waves into like an altered state.
Yeah.
So all of that was just really like I was like putting him into a next level trance to be prepared for what was to come next.
Oh, that's
So
so awesome. So what came next?
some impact play,
Uh-huh.
and just some like sensual teasing, and some sensory deprivation. But it was very, very erotic, and I was really surprised by where it went. And I mean, I always just go with the flow of things.
Mhm.
If I think that something is going to be nasty and hard and rough, and then I'll just flow with that. And this
Mhm.
one just started off to be really, really sensual, and I said, okay, yeah, let's explore that as well. So
Yeah.
it's been really fulfilling. It's been such a magical journey, and I know that it's just the tip of the iceberg now. So
Yeah, it sounds like, you have this incredible ability to, like you said, flow and not get too stuck in the headspace of like dominatrix and what
Mhm.
that's supposed to look like to other people.
Exactly.
And that to me is true dominance because, you're doing the thing that you want to do, you're doing the thing that feels right to you, and not based on some template or,
Mhm.
whatever like adopted idea came
Yeah,
from an outside source.
yeah, absolutely. And for me, it's I think the biggest lesson that I'm learning is how to be true to myself.
Hmm.
And in being true to yourself, there comes a level of authenticity, and through that level of authenticity comes a genuine excitement, and a love and a radiance.
Yes.
And I'm finding that by being who I am, and kind of being, off the map and a little bit quirky, that there will be people who are drawn to me,
Hmm.
just because it's different. And I've
Yes.
always been different, and I enjoy being different. And like I said, shaving off the head was absolutely phenomenal. And I just said, why not just be, bald, bodacious, bald dumb.
Yeah, whatever you want to be is the kind of dom that you are, and
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that this is a field of work and creativity that meshes a lot of different skills together, and there's there's definitely room for different kinds of skills and talents to be integrated into this craft, like, improvisation, um, acting, directing, cinematography,
Yeah.
like you're creating your own little film.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and then for some people, it's like nursing and psychology. And
Yeah.
then for other people, it's like life coaching and just like all different, there's so many different kinds of DOMs and different skills. And I love everybody that I meet because we're all such a diverse bunch of amazing people.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and that's what I think keeps it exciting. And I'm excited to see where the world of professional domination will go,
Hmm.
because I've been connected with so many phenomenal doms. And when I saw you and your femdom farm, and I saw your style, I said, wow, she's just so unique, and she's got such an edge to her, and there's such a beauty and I felt your spirituality right away. And I said, it's so nice to see so many women stepping up to show and to explore their true colors. And it's this beautiful kaleidoscope of these women finding their voices, finding a place to stand in the world, and claiming their right to be a strong woman.
Yeah.
And if I had this kind of support and women to look towards when I was a kid, I mean, my life would have been completely different.
Hmm.
It wouldn't have taken me like 35 years to become a dom. I would have hit that mark much sooner. But I hope that what I'm doing and what we're doing will give young women a chance to not be afraid to be who they are or who they want to be, because that's what I got all my life. It's like, you can't be this, you can't be that. You can definitely not be sexual. You cannot be sexy, because that's just trashy.
Hmm.
So I was fighting against a lot of these stereotypical notions
Yep.
of what my parents thought were right all of
Right.
my life. And then it had to come to a big break. And like I said, I think that for me, the having the cancer was the kick in the ass that I needed to just shift things in the biggest way possible. So
Yeah. Um, I think your story is extremely inspiring, and that your energy is just so, vibrant and even electrifying in moments when you're obviously talking about something you love doing. And I definitely see a lot of women and femmes really stepping into their own self, like they may or may not be in their own power just yet, but it's a process,
yeah.
and it's happening. And I have a lot of hope for that.
Yeah, so do I. So do I. For a while there, I was just like, oh, there's so much strange energy in the world, and there's so much anger and confusion, and to just see, you know, this new generation saying,
Mhm.
fuck the patriarchy.
Yeah. Well, this is an important point that I just put up here. That's Miss Rivers says, not just inspirational to young women, but us older women as well. Thank you.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
that is so true, because another reason that you are inspiring is because you didn't even start doing this professionally until you're 50. And a lot of women feel probably like that's past their prime, and definitely a lot of other people feel that way too, but women who want to do this. and
Absolutely.
and you are a testament to like that is not true. That is just a story we tell ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm 53 now, and I am so looking forward to what the future has in store. I'm just, every day that I get up and that I go through the motions, and I, do my content, and I post on Twitter, and I connect with people, and I share my story. I say, this has just begun. I really want to, share and help other people and support that. because I think the world really needs a lot more caring and a lot more rising of energy. You know, we've spent a year stuck, and, you know, like us in Montreal, it was lockdown for a whole year. And it was miserable and it was scary and people felt like it was the end of the world. And now we're just sort of, we're the butterflies coming out of the cocoon, or the, larva,
Yeah.
or whatever they call it, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean, right?
Yeah.
And it's yeah, it's just nice to find a hive mind and just all kind of vibrate together. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I definitely love the metaphor of the butterfly, because when it's in its little cocoon becoming the next thing, it's a formless goo.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
that's what we were in the pandemic. We lost our identities. We lost our jobs. You know, we lost our roles that we identify with a lot of times. Not all of us, but you know, a lot of us were like, "Who am I without my job?"
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, exactly.
and so we were given this kind of like formlessness. We were, you know, brought back to this formlessness, and now that so many things have been exposed or finally seen and recognized for what they are in the patriarchy, in capitalism, in white supremacy, we can't like go back to being caterpillars anymore and just crawling along some plant eating leaves. You know, we're not okay with that anymore. We have to be our most powerful, bright, shiny, radiant butterfly selves.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't agree more. And that's like, as I was saying about me shaving my head, when I was having my chemotherapy, basically it was called immunotherapy, which meant that my whole immune system was destroyed in order to be rebuilt again. And there was one point I had a cold and it wiped out my white blood cells. I had no white blood cells. And I realized at that point, it's like, not only have I lost all my hair, but like all my white cells have just completely left my body. I am just like a shell of skin and bone. And yes, I was this cosmic glue. I mean, cosmic goo. I was just like this in this pouch, just kind of like swirling around. And then they, like with the chemo treatment, they turbo boost your immune system in order to fight the cancer cells itself. So yes, I felt like the $1 million man. It's like I'm being rebuilt again, piece by piece. And like I said, my hair grew back eventually, but that was part of the regrowth and the rebirth. And then when we were coming out of the pandemic, and you know, I have my first shot, getting my second one soon, I asked a friend of mine, I said, you know, I have this idea of making this video of me talking about my cancer journey and how I was disassembled in order to be reassembled, and juxtapose that with the pandemic. And literally, the world had its own cancer. The world went through its own chemotherapy. We all had to disintegrate internally in order to rebuild and reemerge. And that's when I shaved my head. I'm like, I'm reclaiming my power again.
Yeah.
This is the reinvention, the rebirth, and it's a collective one. And when I tell people, you know, when they talk about the pandemic, I said, well, if you ever wanted to know what it's like to have chemo, we just went through it. You know, you're afraid of germs. You have to mask up. You can't go out.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, you're right about that. Wow. The whole world had chemo.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think I'd like to ask you one last question.
Sure.
And then while you're answering that, we will go ahead and open the chat.
Oops. I'm here alone. Hi, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a real pleasure. Oh, there you go.
I don't know how I popped out. Sorry about that.
It's okay. I took the lead as a co-host, but
you did great. Thank you so much. So I don't know how much of I said made it through, but as you answer this last question, we'll open up the floor for questions. And there's already a couple in here, so I'm just going to go ahead, ask you the question, which is, in stepping into your power, reclaiming your, like sexual power, or finding your sexual power. You had mentioned maybe one of the things was, well, I'm just going to let you give advice about that. How about that?
Okay. So what's the question?
The question was, how would one do that? Like, what are some steps to start, like stepping into your sexual power and reclaiming your own power in general?
I would say, well, for me, what worked was reading. And I can't preach from the rooftops enough. The Ethical Slut.
Oh, yeah.
That was my Bible. That for me, I read that like when it came out, and it just opened the floodgates of oh wow, this is possible. Oh, and that's possible. And also, I joined FetLife at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And FetLife's a great community. I mean, not only finding people locally, but like all over the world, and just getting out there and asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of, being true to yourself, ask yourself what makes you feel good, what makes you feel sexy, what makes you feel desirable, what really gets your grind going, and tap into that and explore that. And if you have a like a life partner or something, ask them what they feel, ask them if they want to explore, ask them if they want to try. Also, looking into that kind of porn. For me, it was, I loved latex, and I was all about looking at the latex porn. It's just like, oh wow, that really excites me. And then the feminization stuff, and I did a lot of reading there, and looking on Pornhub. It's like, oh, let's see how they do that, and just explore. There's no limit to what you can explore, and don't ever feel ashamed that what you might like is weird, because something is weird to everybody and something can be exciting to everybody. And it's not in any way, shape, or form that anybody can say what you're doing is right and wrong.
Right.
What you're doing is if it makes you happy, then you're on the right path. And just ask questions, reach out. Like I said, for me, getting on Twitter and connecting with other DOMs, taking courses, and really wanting to be honest in my curiosity has had a lot of people reach back to me genuinely. And that's been something that has been really, really refreshing and priceless to me and my growth as a human being and as a DOM.
Mm-hmm. So taking in different forms of media to see what resonates with you, not just sticking with like only videos or only porn.
Exactly.
But I think reading is also extremely stimulating, because you're engaging your imagination, which
Absolutely.
is, in my opinion, one of the most powerful tools that you can use for healing, for pleasure, for manifesting whatever it is.
Absolutely. And I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to go to the first question, but finish your thought.
One of my like long-term goals is to have a film collective of women and femmes who make erotic, intellectual porn and alternate porn and explore BDSM, but I want to do it on such a level that it's almost cinematic and artistic, because I think that it would just be great to watch something and absorb it on so many different levels, not just a linear like these are people fucking or this is somebody being flogged.
Right.
and maybe not even delve into like a whole storyline type of thing, but just make the watching experience itself be next level, mind-blowing, cathartic, spiritual. So
we need to talk.
That's the work.
We need to talk, because I'm a horror fan. So like, I'm not a crazy horror fan, but I know the type of horror that I like, and I want to make horror porn.
Oh my God.
Like, kind of taboo stuff that is also like maybe kind of exciting, but really uncomfortable too.
Yes.
And then weave in like horror, elements.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're definitely talking after this.
Yeah, we're gonna talk. All right, so first question, which came in a little while ago. Sophia Hernandez asks, what is the longest and most brutal flogging session you have ever done on a slave?
It was 2 hours, and I went through a whole arsenal of everything from like floggers to paddles to I had this one cane which was made like entwined of cowhide, and
Oh, yeah, I know about that one.
it was so like I saved that one for last.
Yeah.
And my submissive was a really, really like he just loved pain. And it was interesting. He told me, he says, like pain is the only time that I can really feel. And he was very, very shy and very introverted. But for him, just having that experience of transcending the next level of pain and the next and the next and the next till it got to the point that it was just pure sensation.
Yeah.
And I worked him up to that. And every few minutes, I would check in every 20 minutes. How are you doing? Can breathe with me. Are you feeling this? More mistress, more mistress. So it was something almost, next level. I imagined how, I don't even remember the name of the group, but I've seen it on, like, National Geographic channels. They have these men that walk and they self-flagellate.
Oh, right.
And they do it to the point that they bust open their skin and they're bleeding, and they do it until they collapse. And for me, it became very much a physical manifestation of a meditation, just like the tempo and going harder and harder and harder. But at the same time, seeing my submissive take this, sit in the uncomfortableness of it, and then transcend that. So it was a rush for both of us, because I was saying to myself, could he take more? Could he really take more? And then he would surprise me. I'm like, okay, now I got to push myself to be able to give him more.
Right.
So it was a very symbiotic experience. And I mean, my arm was sore.
Yes.
Because I do have tendonitis in my arm, and I'm like, I hope that he just like wants to calm down for a little while. I use the other arm, and I'm not a lefty, so I'm getting all clumsy with the flogger.
Yeah, that's very real wear and tear on our bodies.
Yeah, exactly. But I enjoyed the session, yes, very much, and they did too. But I don't think that my strength lies in kind of endurance flogging. I think that I really enjoy the kind of mind fuck and just the kind of imagination play. And like I said, I mentioned before, sensory deprivation. For me, that's so exciting. I once had a sub, and I lined up a whole tray of little things for him to eat and taste. And I would let him sniff it, and then I'd sort of like let him sniff chocolate and switch it around and put a chili pepper in his mouth. And I'd be like, you can't anticipate stuff in life. So you just gotta like stop overthinking and stop over expecting what you're going to smell, because I'm going to switch it on you, and I got to really have to teach your brain how to like be in the moment. And I had him like blindfolded. I had his, arms like muffed up and tied, and I was trying different things. It's like I move with a feather, and then oops, like a hot wax drop. And just for me, the mind can take you to so many different places, and it's such a complex yet simple machine. And it's kind of a low risk, low effort way to play. And I think that's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, I love that little mind fuck too. It's just so simple.
Yeah, exactly.
It's brilliant. Okay, so next question here we have Max Media. What is your favorite picture you have taken?
Ooh. I have I I have a picture of myself that I took when I was on a friend's toilet. And it was just one of my crazy, self-portrait moments. And I set up the tripod, and I wanted to do this like quick, Betty Boop kind of like looking. And I can get it, like it'll just be like 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it. Got a lot of enthusiastic comments from John May. The brain is a sex organ. It sure is. Oh, wow.
Can you see
Oh,
that?
yeah. Oh, I see. It's very like high contrast, and I love the colors.
Yeah, the ring
Oh,
light's
that's
in the
cool.
way, but that's one of my favorite pictures, and I call it oops.
Oh, that's perfect because Celeste Taylor just asked, is your photography, I'm going out of order a little bit, but is your photography available for viewing? If yes, where can it be viewed / obtained?
Good question. I have through my Twitter account, I have a separate photo account. Oh, if you go on FetLife, you will find my main profile, and if you scroll down, there's a link to my photography profile. I think it's DiamondBlu photography. So I have some of my stuff up there on FetLife.
Okay. On FetLife.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then it's DiamondBlu photography.
If you go on my main page on FetLife, DiamondBlu, then you will find the links.
Okay, I just put that into the chat box. So John May has a bunch of very enthusiastic emojis and says the brain is a sex organ, and he says love your smile.
Oh, thank you.
And then we've got this next question here. Can you describe your favorite feminization / transformation session?
It would have to be the one that I explained before. That happened over a few days.
Mm-hmm.
Like I first took him shoe shopping, and the same day we went for clothing shopping, and I brought him to this little family run store that sells stripper wear,
Mm-hmm.
like the little slinkiest things. And I told him he was caged, and I grabbed a bunch of like tops and little skinny skirts and stuff. And I just said, here you go. I shoved him into the dressing room. And the woman who ran it, I mean, there's a certain place in Montreal that's kind of like, it's like a strip mall area. And these stores have been around forever. Like we used to have a big trans community, and we used to have trans performers and drag queens and stuff like that. So they've seen all kinds of people coming through the door. So having my big burly bearded submissive come in and being thrown into the dressing room was fun.
Yeah.
And so he tried on all these dresses, and I'm like fitting them, and I'm like, no, it has to go a little bit here, and this is how you tie it around. And then he came to my dungeon, and it was I told him how to dress. I said, now I'm going to teach you how to walk. And he walked in heels for the first time. And I said, you have to rub the knees together to keep the feet, and the hips will walk gently. And he was like overjoyed. And then at one point, I have this beautiful mirror in the dungeon, and I stood up and behind him, and I just sort of, went on his body on the curves. And I just said, look, you have curves, and look at how beautiful it sits on your body. And then I turned him around. And I said, let's watch us in the mirror. And it was really like, I just went on his, on his breasts and on his shoulders. And if he had a wig on, so I was like moving the hair around his ear.
Yeah.
And he says, wow, this is like girl on girl action.
Exactly.
And he loved it. And it was a very sensual domination session. And, I did give him some spanks and just, I made him watch the whole thing, and just the feeling, and I had the music, and I had the incense in the background, and I was dressed up in lingerie and heels. It was next level. It was so, and he had told me, he says, it's one of the most erotic moments that I've ever had. And I was thrilled, because for me, I decided to take this feminization to the next level and really dive into it. And for both of us, it was amazing. And I really hope that, now that everybody's going to be vaccinated, that I would love to offer this again. It was a thrill. It was really great.
Yeah, and you can't really, like, if you're a big burly man, it's hard to find just like some random person to go shopping like that with.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know, I think that you do need like a safe space, and you need somebody that's going to help you really feel good about what you're doing, instead of like kind of embarrassed and out of place.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I knew the places to go. There's a shoe shop which is basically on the first floor, sells regular, average Joe shoes and women's shoes. And on the second floor, it's like this loft space and it's wall to wall shoes and it's large size shoes.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
pleasers that are size 14 and 15.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's the private area.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
and for me that was, that was so important for my submissive to feel safe,
Mhm.
not only with me but in the actual space. And I made sure that that was part of our journey. And I think that's really important. I mean, unless, he wanted to be humiliated, I would have taken him to, like Victoria's Secret or something. But that's
Right.
a different level. But
Yeah.
he was new to this and
Mhm.
very curious and intrigued. And I said,
Mhm.
okay, well, let's have some fun. And we did.
Yeah. And one thing at a time if you're new to this,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like maybe humiliation's just like further down, maybe never at all, but like just the primary experience of feminization is enough a lot of times.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so next question from Miss Rivers. How do you ground yourself after a session?
Good question.
Mhm.
Um, I've had a lot of experience, thankfully, from the Reiki. For me, it's all about, well, I do kind of a cleanse after the person leaves. I have my bat of a sage stick.
Very
And
necessary.
it's really important. And then I'm blessed to have a backyard. So I just go out there and I take my shoes off and I just walk around in the grass, imagining myself, just like all the energies that I've carried just kind of like fall off like old skin and go into the ground and stay there and kind of regenerate and then take up the energies from Mother Earth and just have it do it like a little recycling,
Yeah.
like just in and out, and just shaking off any cords that I feel that have been attached to me. And like there's a cord cutting exercise that if people who are into spirituality, it's just you take a like an imaginary knife and you just sort of cut right around you any of these cords of attachment. And I take a bath with Epsom salts and I light the candles and drink a lot of water. That's like super important. And
Mhm.
just be really kind to myself, because as much as there is a subspace, there's a dom space,
Mhm.
So it's the next day, it's just don't plan anything. I have my comfort food, my Haagen-Dazs chocolate,
Yes,
and
so important.
and I can get somebody to come over and rub my feet and just kind of I wash and disinfect all the toys that are necessary, but in terms of like picking up after the heels and moving shit around, it's like I'll do that when I have the energy. Right now it's my energy time.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's really important because I'm an empath, and I think a lot of doms who go into this have some sort of level of, they connect with their submissives or their partners. And it's really easy to have that membrane be permeated by people who are just more spiritually aggressive than you are. And I have had in the past, when I was learning my Reiki, somebody who was very sick and had arthritis. And then for the next few days, I just literally felt their pain. Yeah,
Whoa.
it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And then I called up my Reiki master and she's like, did you do your grounding exercises? And I said, no. She's like, it's very important because that stuff like negative energy is the heaviest energy and it'll stick to you like, a hair on a sweaty body on a hot day. And she says, you got to cleanse. You just got to
Yeah.
let that stuff roll off of you, because you can carry it with you and then transmit that to other people as well. So it's all about,
Yeah.
spiritual hygiene.
Yeah.
So I guess,
Spiritual hygiene, super important.
yeah,
Energetic hygiene, if you're maybe not super spiritual, but everybody has energy, and there's definitely people with like, nervous, anxious energy, and
yeah,
sometimes that can throw you off balance too. So even like outside of a BDSM session, it's important to do stuff like that. regularly. Thank you for that very awesome set of tips.
Getting out
So
into nature, that's the biggest thing that you could do.
yeah, even if you're like around trees, they spray aerosols, and the way they smell is one of those cleansing things too.
Yes, absolutely. So don't be
Yeah,
afraid to hug a tree. I hug them all the time.
same. Okay, and let's do one last question here. Um, Julio Grant asks, how important is it for the client to believe in the energy? Will it not work if the client is skeptical?
I get asked this a lot. It's I ask my clients to come in with an open mind. It's not my job to sell them on my spiritual beliefs. And I respect if they don't believe it. If they don't want to have any kind of energy work done, that's fine. If they do, I'll just say, keep an open mind. Whatever sensations that come up, tell me. I can guide you through them. I can help explain them to you, and just consider it as you're going on a little vacation. A little vacation for your mind. I've had so many people come in to see me for Reiki sessions that were absolute skeptics. I mean, to the point that they lay down and they're just like, "This is not going to work. It's not going to work." And then after I start with the treatment, which is really deep breathing and mirroring their breath and allowing them to just relax. I've had people literally, from the moment that they lie down, they're like, "It's not going to work." And then they conk out. They just literally like sleep. And then they wake up and they say, I don't know. I don't know what you did. I just feel like I've come out of a vacation. And I just say, well, we're all energy, and I just am the facilitator to help you realign what's already in your body. And disease comes from blocked energy, like everything from migraines to cancer. And it's all about just being conscious of that. And you don't have to believe. I mean, I've offered Reiki sessions to people who don't believe it, and they go home and they say, "I really feel great, thank you, even though I still don't believe it, thank you anyways." So yeah, client doesn't have to believe in that kind of stuff. It's fine. Everybody has their own beliefs. I have no judgments. So as long as you have an open mind, then that's great.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, just to answer this a little further, will it not work if the client is skeptical? That's not it. There's no guarantee, of course, that like it will work, like whatever end result they're expecting. I think the part people will feel something different.
Yeah.
Just like a very subtle shift.
Yeah.
So depends on what you mean by like work. So yeah, it's a subtle work.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I just saw somebody says, "Can I hear more drum, please?"
Yes, Max Media would like to hear more drum, and then we have to drum out of here.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's so lovely.
And with the humidity, it becomes more deeper and more bassy.
Yeah.
I often do this, and I kind of slip into a meditative state, and I'm just worried that one day I'm going to find myself on the floor with the with the drum on my head, because I'm just going to be like,
I mean, I think that you've done it enough to where maybe you can like maintain an alertness. But it's definitely super meditative and like deep. It's almost like you don't hear it as much as you feel it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's really, like I said, every time I've brought it to somebody and they feel it right in the root chakra, which is, that's where the sexual energy is. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
So
just one last thing, just to follow up Julio Grant's first question. For me, I believe that it can work, but many times the practitioner has other beliefs that they promote together with their Reiki or other energy work, which can be off-putting. And that's true, but it's also one of those things that, you know, might be good to keep an open mind about too.
Absolutely. But then there are some people who are just so excited about, you know, wanting to share this energy and heal the world that they can get pushy.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, you know, on a scale of how everybody relates to energy healing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, for me, it's just, you know, if you believe it, that's great. And if you don't believe it and you want to learn about it, I'll explain it to you. And if not, I absolutely respect that.
Totally.
So, yeah, I think it's just a question of the people.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you meet, so.
And everybody's different, and even people who are different have different kinds of days, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to outro now, and I just want to put this one last little banner up and promote ourselves real quick. Our Patreon, which has many tiers of subscription, is how you lovely viewers can support us and our weekly broadcast work, and also all of our other more educational and kink coaching type of work too through the Patreon. So if you want to help with that, it's patreon.com/La Maison de Rouge. And we've had such a lovely time answering your questions, looking at your comments, getting to hear Mistress DiamondBlu's story and all of her beliefs, and just everything about you that makes you special. Just really appreciate the politeness and the inquisitiveness as well of our wonderful audience members. And I am going to end the broadcast, but I would love to talk to you, DiamondBlu, afterward. So until next Monday, we will hopefully have a wonderfully kinky week, rejoining society. And thank you again for tuning in.
Thank you, everybody. Thank
Goodbye,
you again.
everybody.
Bye.